Can you please give us an introduction to who you are and give us a brief history of your education path?
Yeah. So my name's Renee, and I'm an artist. I'm an art educator, and I've been. I'm fairly new to Lang House, but I'm very happy to be running some arts programs here for the fall and the winter that's upcoming. And trying to think here. In terms of my education, so I went to art school in Ontario at Queen's University, and I also am a certified teacher. So I did that degree kind of at the same time as art school. And then I figured out, I don't know if I'm ready to go teach in schools yet. So I decided to continue in school and to study art education at the master's level. And from there, I figured out that I really loved teaching, but more so in community spaces.
Absolutely. My name is Franco Martinez. I am an international student from Mexico, and I came to Nova Scotia to study a course in mental health recovery promotion at NSEC. And I am currently a CSW, a community support worker here at Lang House.
Do you have any mental health struggles?
Mm-hmm.
Even if not, what do you find useful for your mental health self-care?
So part of dealing with my anxiety and sort of finding strategies and coping with it, for me, medication and therapy have both played important parts. And then sort of outside of a more medical lens, definitely, I mean, obviously art has been instrumental in, I don't know, sort of caring for my mental health. And I mean, also sometimes I have to remind myself of the basics of, eating and sleeping and, those basic bodily function things. But they do take a toll when I'm not putting in the effort in those areas. Visual art for me, so that includes painting and doing embroidery. And yeah, I've just noticed that, also hanging out with other people has been a big part too. Because I think I can get in kind of a loop spiral when I'm sort of isolated and on.
I do believe that we all struggle with our mental health. We're not always 100% there, and I think for myself, self-care is in the form of my support network, mainly, which consists of my family. Despite them being far away, we're constantly in communication. My friends here are also very important to me because having someone to listen to you is more important than you might think. And especially listening to you without judging, just having an ear for you to decompress, express whatever it is that's worrying you. I also think that for me, self-care looks like listening to music, listening to new bands, exploring what's out there is really important. But also being creative is a good way to self-care. I think that writing is one of those creative outlets for me.
Do Do you feel that treatments besides medication have been often understated and or underutilized?
I do. I very much think they have. I can mainly talk about what happens back home. And while I was studying my bachelor's in psychology, we had the opportunity to work with many mental health institutions, both private and public. And mental health is viewed in a very different way, unfortunately. So people who have resources are the ones that are able to access mental health services. Unfortunately, even they are just swept under the rug with pills and basically no other form of support. But those who do have a balanced manage of their condition seem to thrive. And by balanced, I mean medication, therapy sessions, healthy support network, and various ways to self-care. So yeah, I do believe that there is not one single solution for a mental health condition, nor there is an answer that fits all. I think it's dependent on the person.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think there's, as you'll find out, like through all these interviews, but like there's so many different avenues that aren't medication that are also helpful for, I don't know, caring for your mental health. So art, for sure. Something else that I often forget about is physical activity. So I think like for me, I know that like going roller skating sometimes is a way just to like connect with myself and like get moving.
As an art educator, do you promote the beneficial effects of art on mental health?
Yes, I think I do it in like kind of a subtle way, in that a lot of the spaces where I'm making art with folks, I definitely engage in conversations with them where they're talking about how beneficial like the act of art making was on their well-being. And I've heard folks kind of say like, wow, it feels so good to spend time making with other people, or even to get lost in what you're making and like sort of, I don't know, not think about other things that are going on. So I think like in a subtle way it comes up.
Do you have any particularly positive experiences in which a student of yours benefited?
Ooh. Yeah. I can't think of like a specific instance, but I think just generally the feedback that I get from folks in like the sessions that I'll facilitate is just like how grounding it is to make art and to not have to like think about any other things that are going on in your life necessarily, and then also just like, I don't know, as a way to like connect with people, because it can be so stressful to just like, I don't know, if you don't know anyone and to like engage in a conversation with someone can be really stressful.
Yeah, it almost breaks the ice.
It breaks the ice, definitely.
Yeah,
and I find that for me too, like I can be kind of like socially anxious in situations, and I think art, like being in situations where I'm making art with other people, it gives me a tangible like purpose and way to connect with others where I don't have to like it just comes naturally. I don't think about, like, oh my gosh, what am I saying? What am I doing? And those types of things.
What are your suggestions to people who want to start doing art?
Okay, my suggestion is that mistakes are welcome and things don't have to be perfect, and that I know a lot of people are often like, I can't do art. Or like, when I can't draw, I only do stick figures or something. And I'm like, the product is exactly what it's supposed to be. And like, really it's more so about the process of what you're doing. Like, you know, putting a mark down on a piece of paper, like creating something and then connecting with others while you're doing it. Or even just using art as like a tool to, I don't know, let your mind wander away from maybe what it's thinking about. Yeah, I was chatting with Jasmine the other day, and Jasmine mentioned art as like a healthy way to dissociate, and I thought that was really interesting, like how folks can lose themselves in art. So don't let art be intimidating. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect.
You've previously mentioned to me that you have ADHD. I was wondering what you find specifically helpful for that.
I think that to me, and I would argue that it is very similar to many people, time helps a lot. And because you come to learn yourself, to learn about yourself. And you start trying things out, and it's basically trial and error. And sometimes they give you a very good idea, but it doesn't work really well for you. So you try it out, you tailor it to yourself. Personally, ADHD has been a challenge of studying. I have never been a really good student. But I've managed to complete a degree in psychology, and I have completed my mental health course here in Nova Scotia. To do that, I have learned that having breaks, things to fidget, helps me release that energy, that buildup of energy. Exercise helps a lot, especially when you have to be focused for a long time. But also tricks that have to do with reading. Even if it's something as simple as having a pen to follow the words helps me focus. Fortunately, there are more tools now. Bionic reading is unbelievable. You can read anything with that tool. I highly recommend it. And lots of patience.
In regards to your education path and overall life experience, what are some uncommon or lesser known treatments you've learned about?
I can think of one. Unfortunately, I don't know the full name, but it has to do with eye movement and some sort of exposure therapy. And what they've realized is that the movement of the eye is connected to parts of the brain that handle stress. You can't focus on everything at once. So you hijack the biological parts of your brain into thinking that there is movement going on for the brain to focus on that movement. Even though you're sitting down, you're moving your eyes, and it simulates a person searching. When you're in searching mode, something that is given to us by our ancestors, you can't focus on anything other than what you're searching for. And by combining that sort of exposure with the eye movement, apparently the levels of anxiety are significantly reduced in order for the person to focus on the here and now. So that seems to be something worth looking into.
Can you relate a positive experience you've had with a member as a community support worker?
Oh, of course. Recently I had, I'm going to talk about two. Recently I had some check-ins, quarterly check-ins with members. And my very first official quarterly check-in, not the trials, a member reached out to me and was very worried that he wasn't going to make our appointment because it was raining, but he said that he would make it in the end. I reassured him that it was no big deal, that I was going to be here in all day. He came in and we had our quarterly check-in. And when we were done, he said, I just want you to know that I love being here and I just came to see you because I really like you and I'm glad we can talk. And that felt really good. And there's another member who frequently mentions that I am his favorite CSW. And then, that's why we do this. It makes us feel good. It makes us feel that what we do matters. And even if we don't get the big recognition in social media or everywhere, those little things really mean a lot to us.